So ladies, gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new news roundup video. And today, well, we're going to start off with, finally, we've got some news surrounding lanterns. And it's kind of some news that we may have heard about before. And I actually find that part of it very, very interesting when we take a look back into the past of some DC leaks that were put out there quite a while ago. And once again, like I've done in previous news roundup videos, if you kind of go back to them, it's like they're turning out to be true more and more along the way. We're also going to dive in some other little DCU tidbits, from Superman to other things. As always, this video is timestamped if you want to skip around, but I do recommend checking out every topic that we cover so you're up to date on all of my takes. So initially here, over the past few days, we had some Lanterns things getting out there, such as from NexusPointNews.com here saying DC Studios Lanterns adds writing and producing team. Now, stick with me here because it's going to get very interesting when we go back into the past with regards to other DCU rumors out there, of which I'm really wondering if they are quite actually, as it may turn out, to be authentic. Now, we've now uncovered that the following names are officially attached to the Lantern series thanks to their WGA profiles. And while the specific roles of these names are not yet confirmed, we can make some educated guesses, but that's when Gunn confirmed some of these names. So he said, yes, it's true. The Lanterns DCU series is putting together a crack team of writers based on the wonderful pilot script and Bible by Chris Mundy, Tom King, and Damon Lindelof. A hearty welcome to Chris and Damon Lindelof as they join the DC Studios family. No welcome necessary for old Tom King, who has been here nearly since inception. So we actually had a couple of people asking Gunn about, is there a reason you don't debunk or confirm some breaking news from Variety and Deadline? Because some things you have spoken about, and I'm unsure of the credibility on certain stuffs which you hadn't acknowledged yet. So I've been wondering about this. And I think that's been a question for a while because, you know, we heard about Lex Luthor a long time before he was officially cast. That's one example. Another one would be, of course, something like Mar and Pa Kent. We didn't get him acknowledging that until actually fairly recently. And here Gunn said that oftentimes news sources break things while we're in talks, and the deal may not work out. Sometimes it doesn't. So just to interject here, that's what I often say. If we don't hear Gunn talk about something, of course, A, it could be false. It could just be a rumor he doesn't really want to engage. So I've always said, when it feels like something actually may be a rumor that may be worth looking into, the reason why he might not acknowledge some castings, or maybe even the Teen Titans movie properly, or whatever that may turn out to be, quite often it's because a deal may not work out or it's in the early preliminary stages, so he can't actually comment on it as of then. But it doesn't mean that, for example, the Teen Titans movie isn't a project that is in development for the DCU at some point in time. Because as I always say, the announcements that we got, the 10 projects in January of 2023, as Gunn said, is less than half of the projects in Chapter 1. So we've got quite a few to go, and that's going to tie into what I'm about to dig into in a second with other rumors out there that could very well turn out to be true. Because, you know, the stuff like this with Lanterns and the team that is working on it, well, that was reported a long time ago by DCEU Leaks. And lo and behold, once again, it has turned out to be true. So he says sometimes I don't want to, or it's sensitive stuff. A lot of times it's wrong and it's not worth dealing with. And a lot of times I don't see stuff. In this case, our publicist told me about it and that Chris and Damon were credited in the trades, but not Tom. So Tom King, which didn't seem fair. So I posted this. So the thing about this is I'm quite happy with the team behind it. We have Nexus Point News going into a bit more detail. So Chris Mundy, for example, since it's officially confirmed that Chris Mundy is attached to Lanterns, this supports earlier reports about Mundy being the showrunner and a writer for the series. Now, Mundy, and this is why I'm very happy about this, has previously served as a showrunner on the crime drama Ozark and as an executive producer on crime series Criminal Minds. Now, this makes me very, 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 very happy because I absolutely love Ozark. Now, this isn't me saying that, oh, you know, Chris Mundy served as showrunner on Ozark, so Lanterns is going to have the same tone and severity that Ozark did. No, it doesn't mean that, like, straight up at all. It's kind of like saying that when we heard that Lanterns is to be compared to True Detective, oh, is it going to be exactly like True Detective Season 1 with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson? Another show that, if you haven't seen it, what are you doing with your life? It is amazing, and I do recommend watching it if you want to get maybe a slither of what Lanterns could be like. So, back to my point here, is it going to be exactly like that? No, but these ideas, Ozark, True Detective, I really like what they are kind of figuring out when it comes to the tonal identity of the Lanterns show. You pair that with what the show has been described as, this Precinct Earth, space cop series with Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart stumbling across this ancient mystery, this ancient horror that is going to ripple out through the main story arc, the main plot of the DCU. I know I've said that 1,000 times before, but you can probably tell how invigorated I get when I talk about it, because all of these flavors, at least on paper, if you're bringing out a new drink with these flavors or whatever, really weird analogy here, I'd be like, that sounds goddamn tasty. Now, Damon Lindelof, known for his work on The Leftovers and Lost, is another significant addition to Lanterns. This isn't Lindelof's first venture with DC and Warner Brothers Television, because he previously served as the showrunner for the critically acclaimed series Watchmen. Now, Justin Britt Gibson, known for writing Counterpart and Into the Badlands, is likely to be a writer as well. And then we have some additional details on Brianna Gibson and Vanessa Baden Kelly. Granted that these weren't really mentioned by Gunn, these writers, it is likely that there will be another writer/story editor for the series given her past credentials, and I'm guessing that they've also popped up on the WGA listings as well, kind of making it a fairly solidified thing. This reminds me of when you get reports or people find sources like this, like that WGA website where credentials are listed. It reminds me of how people found out, like fan accounts of Anya Chalotra, who played Yennefer in The Witcher. It is a very legit thing when they found out that she was credited to be in Creature Commandos as the character of Cersei, of whom is a Wonder Woman villain. And, I can go on all day about what kind of references could we get with Cersei and Creature Commandos in regards to this larger exposition of the DC Universe. I'm already going off on one here, but you see what I mean. That felt like a very reliable thing, or while it wasn't confirmed, I was like, this is very legit. Like, I'm betting you that Cersei, played by Anya Chalotra, will be a thing, and lo and behold, it was. That is basically the makeup so far of the Lanterns series, and I just wanted to give a little bit of a commentary on it because, I just am very hyped for this series, and the creative juices that are going into it seems to be something that is very robust, if you will. Now, the thing is, moving on here to what I was kind of getting at the beginning, how does this link back to things that I've talked about in the past? Well, what I've done in the past is when things have come out from the DCEU with regards to confirmations, I've talked about how I've covered leaks before. What was the DCEU Leaks Reddit page with their verified sources section? Now they're known as DCU Leaks, and they don't really, as far as I'm aware, have as many sources anymore, so they don't really do this as much other than unverified sources, which is why we haven't really gone over a Reddit post in a while here on the channel. But once upon a time, they did have quite a connection that, honestly, I'm not really one to always... I like to entertain leaks for the sake of speculation and say, hey, let's just entertain if it's true. This could be cool, but it is, please take this with a grain of salt. But as I went and did that throughout time, it really became more and more reliable with the verified sources section, such as they found out about Andy Muschietti directing The Brave and the Bold long beforehand, and honestly, multiple other examples. Now, if I go back to those posts, let's do something similar again, where it's like, okay, well, if this is turning out to be true again, what else could turn out to be true or maybe pop up again at some point in the next 6 to 12 months that could very well get confirmed? So here you can see in the verified sources section, and this post is from, a year ago, they claimed on the DCEU Leaks Reddit page, Lanterns, Damon Lindelof will be an executive producer and Tom King will be a writer. Straight up there. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Anna Noguera will write the film. Straight up there. Confirmed. This was posted a year ago, and now here, the Lanterns thing, boom, today, a year later, has been confirmed. So what else? Well, the culprit of good old Clayface pops up again. Now, this isn't something I really want to go head over heels and dissect, but it is something I just wanted to bring to people's attention because, yes, this verified sources section has well, basically quite a few confirmations in it with regards to, okay, well, if they said Lanterns' team here was Damon Lindelof and Tom King, and it turned out to be true, and Anna Nogueira turned out to be true to be the Supergirl writer, well, does this mean Clayface is going to be true with regards to Mike Flanagan is set to write and direct the film? No, we can't just say, oh, just because a couple of things are right, this will be right. We can't. But I want you guys to bookmark it, because what if? What if this source that they have really was right about not just these two things, but also the Clayface thing as well, the Mike Flanagan rumor that we've heard for quite a while, not just, reported here on this DCU Leaks Reddit page, but by Deadline. I mean, look at this article. Now, Mike Flanagan did address it, but the way he kind of talked about it was in such a way where I wouldn't say it was deflecting, but it was like, hey, if there's anything about this, you guys would be the first to know. And it's been something that has been popping up again and again and again. Now, on the table right now in terms of theories, if there is a Clayface project in development, which again, it's not just Deadline, the Hollywood Reporter said it as well. It's been in early gestation with regards to ideas for spin-off movies, apparently in Matt Reeves' Batverse. I think that could have actually been something legitimately being explored at one point in time, but it could be the case that Matt Reeves' Batverse is going to stay quite acute to just movies. I mean, look at the DCU Arkham series, of which was once at its base concept level Batverse series. Now we're just getting the Batman Part 1, which we've already got, obviously, but the Batman Part 2 and the Penguin series. But the Penguin series, I think, survived because it was in development quite a long time ago. But I don't know if we're going to get really too many other Batverse spin-off series, or what was being explored as spin-off movies with Professor Pig, Clayface, and Scarecrow. But I do think the Clayface thing, this rumor that's been around for a long time, I still think it could have survived. What if it's still a thing, but has been moved into the DCU? We're getting the DCU Arkham series that is canonically, literally related to the DCU Batman. Now, we don't know if it's coming out before Brave and the Bold or afterwards, but regardless, a lot of us are thinking, okay, well, they could be doing almost Gotham type episode thing from Batman the Animated Series, and where each rogue is explored in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's that or not, long story short, you're not going to do a DCU Arkham series about DCU's Batman's Rogues Gallery without doing stories surrounding the Rogues Gallery, because Arkham's obviously about the Rogues Gallery. So I think Mike Flanagan's thing, whether it's a film or just an episode, this is where details could be translated differently when it comes to sources telling information to Deadline, to DCEU Leaks here. It might not be a movie. It could be a series. It could be an episode of the DCU Arkham series. These things are in early development, and they can always transform. For example, point and case here being the Arkham series that went from Batverse to DCU. But it doesn't end there. We had some verified sources in the same listings here as the confirmed Lanterns news now and the confirmed Supergirl news with regards to Superman Legacy that I want to remind you guys about. So, they also said the codenamed character Apex is Jack Hawksmoor, who will be portrayed by a black actor. The codenamed character Blitz is Engineer Angela Spiker, of whom we know is played by Maria Gabriela de Fria, and we know the Engineer is in the movie. But it's fascinating that we're also hearing about other members of the Authority that could be making their way into Superman that we might not have just heard about confirmed. I mean, of course, there's other characters that James Gunn could keep under wraps, of which we're going to get into a little bit later in terms of just how under wraps this movie really is and how far into shooting we are for Superman now. It's kind of crazy. All while we know a lot about the movie in terms of characters and some details here and there and some rumors, there's stuff like this that I wouldn't be surprised if it's true, such as not just the Engineer being the only member of the Authority in the Superman movie, but maybe backdoor piloting one or two other characters without having the whole Authority team in Superman. But not only that, there is a third character code named Ghostman who will be the Doctor. And then they just mentioned how Eve Teschmacher will be Lex's assistant. We've already got her casting and is described as an influencer. We've theorized about that before. Maybe she's going to use her LexCorp influencer profile, if you will, to defame Superman. Like, who knows what Lex might try and get Eve Teschmacher to do there. So this is what I mean. Old rumors that are now turning out to be true. We can't guarantee all of these are going to turn out to be true, but I have always liked doing retrospective dives into old DCEU Leaks Reddit posts, specifically in the verified sources section. And I say that because they've got a partially verified section and an unverified section. I'm talking about the verified section because that's pretty much maintained to be pretty damn accurate throughout time. Another example here, if you don't quite believe me, in the verified section of another post they made, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Palau Aspect, I'm probably butchering his name there, but is portraying King Atlan's brother. Their relationship is supposed to mirror Arthur and Orms. They got that casting on their head. But then Lanterns here, oh look, Chris Mundy, showrunner of Ozark and longtime writer and producer for Criminal Minds, will be the showrunner for Lanterns. Chris Mundy. Like, we've got it confirmed by Gunn himself now. Although we previously reported Hal and John would be the same age, this is something that is to be bookmarked in your minds. We can't confirm this just because other things have been confirmed over time from these verified sections. We now know that Hal will be the older Lantern and John will be closer to his 20s, which is something I don't know if I can quite say I'm leaning towards believing, maybe just out of their reputation of being quite damn accurate over time, but I also like this. I like that Hal in the DCU that's been active in terms of heroes existing and having existed for a long time, Batman having Damian Wayne coming along, so obviously at the very least being 9 to 12 years into his Bat career, I would like to believe that Hal Jordan's been a Lantern for multiple years. I'm not saying he's going to be an old Lantern. He might just be like 6, 7, 8 years into his Lantern career, but John Stewart might have only got his ring in the past couple of years, and he's more the rookie, and Hal is the more experienced detective in Lanterns, if you will, on Precinct Earth. Now, the other thing that's always got me excited, and why I also wanted to take a look back on things that could turn out to be true, since the verified sections have had quite a high rating with regards to accuracy on their scoops, and that is The Question. We can exclusively report a series centered on The Question is in development for the DCU 7 months ago, right? And Gunn, I do need to put it out there, and I've said this before. I don't know if I have the receipts right now for this video, but I have shown them before. But he has given some hints that something could be happening with The Question in the DCU. I am tending to believe that The Question will be a character that will come to fruition in one way or another. Now, a series, that makes sense rather than... I think you could make a detective movie around The Question. That would be so cool. But an episodic thing unfolding with The Question investigating something. I know that sounds similar, like what we're getting a Lantern series where they stumble across this ancient, terrifying mystery and they're investigating on Precinct Earth. And it connects to the larger plot going on in the DCU. Okay, cool. But we're also getting another series where the character of The Question is quite literally a very good detective. Yeah, but it could be quite a different thing that's still... I think The Question, if there is a series in development, would also play in quite largely and importantly to major plot things going on in the DCU. Maybe something needs to be uncovered that could even ripple off from what is initially found in Lanterns. I don't know. Obviously, all of that is very raw speculation, but I guess the only thing I need to kind of dial it back to here is there's a Question series being rumored in the verified section, and the main thing is bringing it back to the beginning. Gunn has once again confirmed details from these verified sections, and I hope this is true, and I low-key think it could be. But if you want to know more about the DCU projects, repeating what I said again here, we could hear this confirmed at some point in time, but it could be very, very early in the development stage. For example, if we had Lanterns announced in January of 2023, and we've got Chris Mundy, we've got Damon Lindelof, we've got these writers, Tom King and whatnot, being announced and confirmed for the series. There's a great pilot script, all this and that and the other, and it might get into filming next year. It's still taken quite a long time to get to this point of hearing some firm facts about it being confirmed, and it's still not shooting necessarily anytime soon. So what I'm trying to say is, don't get your hopes up for hearing stuff about the Question series, if that does turn out to be true, or another rumored series or movie, even the Teen Titans DCU project, supposedly being written by Anna Noguera, the writer of Supergirl, because, as I've said, even though we got that tease from Zaslav about hearing more about, you know, the full 10-year plan and Gunn seemingly acknowledging that, I don't know if we're going to hear about it anytime soon. Maybe we might get a bit more at Comic-Con, but my expectations for that are, you know, maybe a bit about the Penguin, Creature Commandos, and some other things. But are we really going to hear about more unannounced projects, which they all know about over at DC Studios. But do we as the public need to know about that if there's so much more to learn about Booster Gold, Swamp Thing, granted Swamp Thing's ages away, the Authority, Supergirl, things like that. So it's kind of a thing that is in limbo in terms of hearing more about it, but we've got very, very strong indicators of what maybe some of these unannounced DCU projects could be based on the reputation of the verified sources of the DCEU Leaks Reddit pages or posts that were posted 7 months to a year plus ago. Doesn't mean every single verified claim is true. I need to put that out there again, but I'm feeling pretty damn good about some of them. Now moving into the realm of some other DCU news here with Superman. So Superman, as you know, they're shooting in downtown Macon, and ever since the suit was revealed, long story short, a lot of us were thinking, why didn't you reveal it on Superman's anniversary? If you kind of revealed it not too long after that, you know, it would have not made more sense to do that suit reveal on the anniversary of Superman's debut. But then some of us put together, okay, maybe it's because we're going to see the Superman suit in public. You know, there didn't really seem to be a rhyme or reason other than that reason as to why it would be revealed. But as we talked about in a recent News Roundup video, that set has been completely covered up like fumigation style, according to Atlanta Filming. You can see the picture here, to the point of where they don't want you to see anything. So the only options for that is like they could be filming with other, you know, characters of which we haven't had reveals for yet. So maybe there's a situation where it's not just Superman in the suit there, but you have Hawkgirl in costume, you have Eddie Gathegi's Mr. Terrific in costume, Guy Gardner, etc. Or maybe even the fabled Ultraman rumor played by David Corenswet in a bit of a dark Superman mode. Like, who knows? It's just strange. If it was just Superman in the suit, you would have thought, okay, well, he's revealed the suit. Granted, some of us want a bit of a better look at different angles, but would you really, you know, tarp it all up so we couldn't see anything? And I don't know if we are. Like, James Gunn, to be honest, as he says here, this is some new information. This user says, when is the Superman trailer coming? Deadpool 3 probably got to break 200 million opening, so maybe best to put it in front of that. And Gunn said, you know, we're only a little over halfway through shooting, which is the interesting thing. They are over 50% of shooting Superman. And, you know, this is what I'm going back to here. Gunn has a pretty decent track record of keeping things fairly tightly wound when it comes to his previous productions. And it seems the same thing is going on here, because think about it. What have we seen from set photos for Superman? And now they are 50% or so of the way through shooting the whole entire movie. We have seen the engineer being like held in some like harness or something. That was it. There's a little bit of commentary about that. Other than that, and some like shots of Norway where they were filming the Fortress of Solitude, but we didn't see any set photos other than the official crest clean version of the suit that David Corenswet was wearing in the official reveal, where we got a better look. You know, we haven't got anything. Nothing. Like, unless I'm really forgetting something right now. We haven't seen Lois Lane in her reporter attire. We haven't even seen Clark Kent's nerdy, goofy look. We haven't seen Jimmy. We haven't seen Perry. We haven't seen any of the other metahuman compatriots. And they're over 50% shooting, and they're keeping it locked down, as you're seeing on screen right now. So I just found that interesting, because when are we going to see something a little bit more? I know some of you don't care to, because you rather reserve it for the movie. I totally get that, but, you know, we're here to talk about, are we going to see something news-wise? And yes, there is still a chance. Now, obviously, we might not see it in downtown Macon with it all being topped up. You got some dates here for filming. They're filming well into June, as you're seeing on screen right now, but they are filming in other locations, possibly for the Kent farm and whatnot, and things like that. So we could see other things. It's not over yet just because they've tarped this one location. And in some other bonus things here, a lot of people have been raving about Nicholas Hoult's Instagram, just because he's been posting some pictures with a Ferrari and whatnot, and people are just loving his Lex Luthor look here. And so his look here is basically Lex. Like, you can see there, as we know, he's been working out. The train has been talking about how crazy good Nicholas Hoult is with regards to just his drive for working out, and there's actually a bit of friendly competition amongst the Superman cast, including between David Corenswet and Nicholas Hoult. And you can see there with that kind of tight fit, almost gym wear shirt he's wearing there, we're getting a bit of a jacked Lex Luthor. And I have to say, like, Nicholas Hoult looks really, really good. I know this doesn't speak to his ability to be Lex, even though I'm quite an advocate for his casting. I think he's extremely talented. But if you're kind of in my seat of like seated for Hoult as Luthor, and you see stuff like this, and you kind of see what his build is and what he can look like as Lex, and imagine him in a suit, and there's some amazing artwork getting out there that is accurate to the likeness of Corrin Sweat and Hoult and whatnot, it really gets me excited. It's just like a little tidbit I wanted to sprinkle in this video, just in case you hadn't seen it, because I'm like, damn, I'm really optimistic for this. I just really can't wait to see this all be brought to fruition in something a bit more, I don't know, solidified through more reveals, or whether that be when we actually just see some promo for the film officially. Now, in some Booster Gold news, even though in my previous news roundup we covered how Gunn said that the story's out there about how being listed on this production website, shooting in the next couple of months, there are some scoopers like Daniel RPK who say, despite that, it's like, okay, Gunn's debunked that, they are getting close to a showrunner for Booster Gold. And they also mention how the titular character has already been cast, which is something we've covered briefly before, in terms of how, and by the way, I do kind of partially believe this. If you think about how, you know, it's now been verified of what we covered earlier, how, you know, you had Tom King, Chris Mundy, and whatnot, Damon Lindelof, to be known as working on the Lantern series over a year ago. This, I do actually tend to believe, despite some Booster Gold scoops getting debunked recently, I don't think it's a stretch of the imagination to believe that, okay, maybe they're getting a showrunner attached behind the scenes. That's not crazy hard to believe. And the titular character being already cast, though, is also something that I actually believe, because Gunn probably has people, or has had a person in mind for this character for a long time. Think Millie Alcock being cast a long time before they even found Craig Gillespie for the director, and before the movie was really swinging in terms of getting into production in terms of later this year. So I do think that Booster Gold may have their Booster Gold that is being kept very under wraps. It's nothing that needs to come out right now when the show still needs to get into development a lot more, just like Lanterns, for example. But they may already have their booster. Now, I have heard behind the scenes that no, it's not Chris Pratt, because that's what everyone's saying. There's no doubt that Chris Pratt's going to be in the DCU eventually, but apparently it isn't Chris Pratt. That's all I know. I don't know who it is, but for all of those of you who are like, it is definitely Chris Pratt, I've seen comments saying, watch it happen. And it'd be funny if I'm wrong, by the way. You know, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But apparently, it isn't Chris Pratt. So for all of those of you who are hoping for a different fan casting of yours to come true, that may indeed happen. But let me know what you thought about what she had to say there, and every other story we talked about in today's video. I know there hasn't been like a bunch of crazy DC news recently, but I'd like to think that we got into a few interesting topics today, and most definitely, you know, I think what I'm really looking forward to seeing in the comments down below is what you think about the retrospective look at some of the previous DC verified rumors from the DCU Leaks Reddit posts back then that turned out to be true, and the additional ones that we're still waiting on, and what you would like to see from them, and if you also perhaps believe that they may be true as well. But ladies and gentlemen, if you've got this far, would really appreciate a like on the video. Consider subscribing for any little updates just like this. But I'm gonna love you and leave you now. So again, really appreciate all of you for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see all of you DC family in the next video. Goodbye.